on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33, and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah, yeah. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Never say die. Never say die.
You are listening to and streaming a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and White House correspondent, not in the White House, but back in LA today with you in afternoon drive time. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. All you got to do is type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA 1580 app. Download that app, and that way you can listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa, because we're fancy like that. Tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and then there we are for your listening pleasure. Also, be sure to subscribe to a More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. Now, happy Monday, everybody. It is Monday, September 29th, and it is time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, NBC News reporting that Bad Bunny, not to be confused with Bugs Bunny, Bad Bunny will be headlining the Super Bowl 60 halftime show. The Puerto Rican artist will headline the Super Bowl 60 halftime show, according to Apple Music. They announced that during the halftime of the Sunday Night Football. Bad Bunny, whose real name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, was the third most played artist on Spotify in 2024. That's according to the music streamer. He's a global superstar. And Bad Bunny's been dubbed the king of the Latin trap for his Spanish language raps. We know that Bad Bunny's most recent album, I Should Have Taken More Photos, it debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 when it was released in January. It also debuted at the top of the U.S. streaming charts. Bad Bunny has performed 30 shows during a 3-month residency in San Juan this year, helping to boost tourism in Puerto Rico during the island's hurricane season. You know what Jay-Z had to say about it? Well, he said, well, what Benito has done and continues to do for Puerto Rico is truly inspiring. We are honored to have him on the world's biggest stage. And so we'll all be watching and rooting on Bad Bunny at this year's Super Bowl. In other news right here in California, NBC also reporting that the California bill regulating top AI companies signed into law. Yeah, Governor Gavin Newsom signed the Transparency in Frontier Artificial Intelligence Act, otherwise known as SB 53. He signed that into law this afternoon. For folks who are less familiar, you should know that the bill, which is the first of its kind in the United States, it places new AI-specific regulations on the top players in the industry, requiring them to fulfill transparency requirements and report AI-related safety incidents. Though several states have recently passed laws regulating aspects of artificial intelligence, SB 53 is the first to explicitly focus on the safety of cutting-edge and powerful AI models. In a statement, Governor Newsom said, quote, California has proven that we can establish regulation to protect our communities while also ensuring that growing AI industry, it continues to thrive. The legislation strikes that balance. The law will likely have worldwide ramifications as 32 of the world's top 50 AI companies, you know where they're based? Right here in California. In a signing message to the state Senate, Newsom wrote that California's status as a global leader in technology allows us a really unique opportunity to provide a blueprint for well-balanced AI policies beyond our borders, especially in the absence of a comprehensive federal AI policy framework. And so, look, as goes California, as goes the nation, as goes the world. Hello. And speaking of industry leaders, speaking of titans of industry, People magazine is reporting that Disney shareholders are demanding records about Jimmy Kimmel's suspension to see if the company wrongfully bowed to Trump. Two major Disney shareholders are calling for transparency, there goes that word again, in regards to the company's suspension and reinstatement of Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. Variety and Deadline, they reported just this past Thursday that the American Federation of Teachers, which is affiliated with the AFL-CIO, and Reporters Without Borders, they've requested internal Disney documents and communications related to the decision to take Kimmel off the air. Their letter, addressed to Disney CEO Bob Iger and signed by a team of lawyers with Democracy Defenders Fund, states that they are seeking, quote, answers about whether Disney was involved in any wrongdoing in relation to the Kimmel suspension. The sudden disruption of a major late night show followed by its return, it sparked concerns about whether Disney violated its fiduciary duties to its shareholders by capitulating to government pressure. And so this is an interesting take right here, because when you are a publicly traded company, you're under certain obligations to share things with your shareholders. And so, this is a case study that I'm sure a lot of industry leaders are going to be following very, very, very closely. Very similar, when Target decided to divest from its diversity, equity, and inclusion work, there were some activist shareholders there that are still seeking to hold them accountable for that. And so making these sort of nilly-willy decisions without consulting shareholders, without a rationale that's consistent with a business case for these actions, it can get you in trouble with shareholders. And so I'm sure so many of us are going to be watching this development very closely. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I'm delighted to welcome my friend, fellow USC alumni, and Eaton Fire survivor, Lauren Randolph. She's going to be joining me to talk about some of the work of a group called Altadena for Accountability. They're demanding action from the Attorney General of California. We're going to tell you what they're demanding, why they're demanding that. And we're also going to check in with Lauren in terms of her family's journey towards healing and rebuilding. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Lauren Randolph when we come forward.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. It's always great to welcome back to the show an old friend, Lauren Randolph. She is an Altadena resident. She's a survivor of the Eaton Canyon fire. And she is calling on California Attorney General Rob Bonta to do something to support Eaton fire survivors. She's working along with a group called the Altadena for Accountability, and they are demanding an investigation from the California Attorney General. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And so, talk to us about this group, Altadena for Accountability. What kind of accountability are they seeking, and what kind of accountability can California Attorney General Rob Bonta help to facilitate?
Yeah, there's so much I think that's happened since the Eaton fire in just such a short time. So many different things to still continue fighting for the city of Altadena and the residents. Altadena for Accountability is a group of community members, organizers, activists who have come together. And we've come together because our fear is that fire survivors, including ourselves, will not get the truth. So recently, the Board of Supervisors released the McChrystal report, which was supposed to give us a report into what happened and the failures of the Eaton fire so that they could move forward with recommendations to make us feel safer. And a lot of what this report feels like is a report for the Board of Supervisors to say, we did it. we did it. We got a report. We're making change. You should feel good now about moving forward. And what us as actual survivors have found is that the report is not thorough, is not based on fact, and isn't an investigation, isn't a true investigation into what went wrong that night and the days that followed. So in order to do that, we need the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, to open a formal investigation and oversight into the board, into the Office of Emergency Response, the sheriffs, the fire, to actually get to the bottom of all the failures that happened. Because only from an accurate report, right, with true facts that is done in depth and detailed, can new legislation and new norms and new ways of doing things come out so that we're safer, so that 20, 30 more people don't die who didn't need to die because there was no warning, an evacuation warning for those people. Those deaths were preventable and shouldn't have happened. And those failures should be explained. And we feel that the report doesn't do that. So we need that investigation.
And so you just in very broad strokes, for folks who are less familiar with this report, talk to us about the McChrystal Group After Action Report. What was the goal of that report? And, where is it that groups like Altadena for Accountability believe that report has come up short?
Yes, the McChrystal report was commissioned by the board, and it was commissioned to look into the failures of that night at the Eaton fire. But the report itself, in the introduction, and I am paraphrasing here, basically says this report is not an investigation and it is not meant to assign blame. And to me, my background is an event planner. When an event goes wrong and there are mistakes, I am to blame, as well as the vendors who made those mistakes. We're talking about 9,000 plus structures lost, all the lives that were lost, and they're saying there's no blame and no accountability. And I think anybody who has survived the Eaton fire is due true accountability or true reason for the failures that have happened. The report's 130 some pages, and there are different areas where they go into Farnsworth Park, which is a park my family walked to every single week. It was walking distance from our house. They said they recorded flames there at 2:18 a.m. Yet we didn't receive an evacuation warning until 3:30 in the morning. Why is there a gap of an hour and 10 minutes when we could walk to where the fire line was showing on satellite? There were 911 calls all throughout the night in West Altadena coming in about seeing flames, seeing fire. Yet the report says, well, that was spot fire. And some firemen wrote notes of evacuating West Altadena, but nobody can find those notes. Nobody can find that being passed up. Therefore, an evacuation didn't happen. There's just so many loopholes, and the McChrystal report doesn't answer why. Who made the mistake? Who didn't step up to evacuate people earlier and to organize that evacuation? So there's throughout the report things that are inaccurate and inequitable and don't account for all of the Black and brown residents of Western Altadena, for the people who are older and don't have smartphones and would not get an evacuation warning via text. It really doesn't answer any of those questions of where the fault lies and what went wrong. So we need accountability.
So just to put a finer point on it for our audience that, again, is getting up to speed on this, essentially Los Angeles County, they promised that this report, this McChrystal Group After Action Report, would provide clear, fact-based review of how these alert warnings and evacuations were handled. But instead, what we're hearing from groups like Altadena for Accountability is what you got was a carefully, conveniently worded PR spin job that really tiptoes around some of the county's missteps, assigning responsibility nowhere in particular. I've got to ask you this question, Lauren, straight up. Do you think that this after action report would be acceptable to residents of the Palisades?
No, never.
No, why not?
Because it doesn't give answers. It doesn't, it's, line of questioning, right? We were journalism majors, communication majors. You ask a follow-up question. Okay, the alerts weren't sent out till 3:30. Well, why? Why were 911 calls? Who are making the 911 calls and what were they seeing? Go back in the call logs and look at it. Dive deeper. Why were those not taken up the poll and given evacuations because of those 911? There's no secondary follow-up questions, right? I think Palisades, anybody would push for those follow-up questions to happen, to actually have a deep diving report based on fact and getting to the end of the line, not just, like you said, a fluff spin that's just taking surface level information and not actually solving and getting to the bottom of things.
It also seems to me a part of what adds insult to injury here. We're talking about folks, survivors who have lost it all.
Yes.
Lost it all. And part of my understanding is that the folks over at Altadena for Accountability and other concerned Altadena residents, they fear that due to the inadequacies of this report, that the next LA County emergency may not be any better. In fact, it could be worse. The McChrystal report is startlingly silent on the inequitable and deadly experiences of Black and Brown residents, including disparities in a dispensation of emergency response personnel. And so, if I'm understanding the concern correctly, it's not just to look back, but it's to look forward. And it's going to be hard to look forward if we're not clear on, what really happened in the look back, so we can prevent it from ever happening again.
Yes. And I think that's one of the most important things. I've been going on about how it's inaccurate and it's false, and it is important, and that is the reason, right? That is the core reason why we want an investigation, why we want an accurate report that accounts for all those things, so that all of LA County, right? We're not the only community in a high fire zone. You have Glendale, La Cunha, you have so many cities throughout LA that are in the same situation as us. So we don't want this to happen to anyone again, let alone Altadena, let alone as I rebuild my home and my children can feel safe, because I can say, we investigated, we figured out, so they can feel better knowing. I can tell them in all honesty, everything has been done to make us safer as we go back to our community, because we will be better prepared, because that preparation was based on fact and investigation.
So what led your group to call on California Attorney General Rob Bonta to investigate? Have you all been in communication with his office? What has his office indicated to you and the folks over at Altadena for Accountability?
That's a good question. I, in all honesty, have been less involved in the direct communication with him. We are a new group that is passionate and has come together over the last month to really push for this. I know there has been a letter sent to him and his office, but we have not had any confirmation that there is an open investigation or there will be an investigation. I also did want to note too, when you were talking about the McChrystal report being safer for all of LA County, after the Woolsey fire, there was an after action report. And it was another devastation, right, in Malibu, in our backyard. And all these things came out of it to make us safer, and that we're supposed to make it, not so deadly with fires, to be more prepared next time around. And we can already see that Woolsey fire after action report was not enacted, right? One of the things that came out of it was that we were an underfunded Office of Emergency Management and understaffed. And we're still one of the least staffed Office of Emergency Management in comparison. I think, don't quote me on the numbers, but New York has this office of 200 and we have an office of 20 to 30 for 10 million people. So we have been understaffed. The report found that in the Woolsey, but there was no change. And here we go with the devastation of the Eaton fire and the Palisades fire. So we want an after action report that actually has change.
So tomorrow, for folks in the LA area that want to lend their support, there's going to be a press conference that takes place at 425 East Las Flores in Altadena. This is on Tuesday, September 30th at 8 a.m. on the burn lot of a survivor's former home, a site that was chosen by the community, just to underscore the stakes of this fight for accountability. What can we expect at this press conference?
You can expect different survivors to share their stories and for all of us to demand accountability and action by the Attorney General. I think all of us have our own stories, but there's so much overlap because so many of us experience the same thing throughout Altadena and throughout Western Altadena as well. So you'll see us speak, you'll hear our stories, and then you'll see us demand action. And we hope to have support and force of our community members there with us to also demand action from the Attorney General.
And where can our leaders, learners, and listeners go to learn more about your group, Altadena for Accountability, and also what we can do? We all have, cell phones and, access to email. How can we support you all in lending our voices to make sure that the California Attorney General is taking this seriously?
Yes, I think can I leave like a message for the website after action? Because
yes, you can. You can share that message when we come forward after this break. In addition, I also want to check in with you. We talked a lot about the group Altadena for Accountability, and it is very encouraging to see impacted residents of Altadena sort of coming together to demand accountability as folks begin to construct a path forward. But I want to check in with you because the last time you were here, you shared with us sort of how your family was coping. We want to make sure we do our part to keep these stories on the front burner and human-centric. And so more with Lauren Randolph, Altadena Eaton Fire survivor. When we come forward, you're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News Now. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is dropping his bid for re-election.
Despite all we've achieved, I cannot continue my re-election campaign.
Adams made the announcement on social media Sunday. New York City's mayoral election is now a three-man race. New Yorkers wasted no time sharing their opinions on Adams' decision.
I think it's a good thing.
He couldn't win. People don't want him, so might as well step down.
I mean, well, it changes something for me because I was actually going to vote for him.
Andrew Cuomo, who is still in the race for mayor, said Adams put the city ahead of his ambitions. A study from William Patterson University found the world's healthiest food is the vegetable watercress. Watercress contains more vitamin C than oranges and lemons and more calcium than milk. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Trouble in the Elysian Park. This is on the 5 freeway southbound before the 2 crash, blocking the next to the left lane as you stop and go from Los Feliz Boulevard. Had a problem in Long Beach on the 91 eastbound at Long Beach Boulevard. That stalled car has been moved over to the shoulder, so hopefully getting a little bit of a break there. Garden Grove, the 22 eastbound at Fairview, Hester. That's a crash on the right shoulder. Stop and go traffic from Magnolia Street behind it.
Want to save a few bucks this season? Then head over to your local Big O Tires for their Save a Buck sales event. You'll save up to $250 on select sets of tires with paid installation through October 19th. The Save a Buck sales event, now at your local Big O Tires.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was the recommendation of doctors and trainers that led to the decision of advising USC women's basketball star Juju Watkins to sit out the entire 2025-26 season. Watkins is still recovering from a torn ACL in her right knee and was not expected to play until at least January. The Compton native was injured March 24 during a second-round NCAA tournament game against Mississippi State. Watkins, a first-team All-American last season, will have 2 years of eligibility remaining at USC. Top 5 college football teams in this week's top 25 poll: Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. 4-1 USC fell out of the top 25 after their 34-32 loss at Illinois on Saturday. Jackson State remained at number 17 in this week's Division I AA poll. The Tigers defeated Southern University Saturday 38-13. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay!
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caspvolunteer.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and she is Lauren Randolph. She's an Altadena resident, and she's also a survivor of the Eaton fire, and she's demanding accountability. This McChrystal report, this after-action report, it ain't it. That's what we're saying. It ain't it. It falls short. And after everything that survivors of this fire have been through, at the very least, they deserve answers. And if they can't get it from the LA County Board of Supervisors, they can't get it from the folks who authored this McChrystal Group after action report, then they intend to get it through California Attorney General Rob Bonta. They are calling on the California Attorney General to exercise his subpoena power and to investigate so that these survivors and their families can get the answers that they deserve as they rebuild their lives, as they plan for their future. Lauren, we've talked a lot about this press conference that's coming up tomorrow at 425 East Las Flores in Altadena. It's happening at 8 a.m. for anybody who's interested in participating. But I want to spend a little bit of time just checking in with you and the family. How are you doing? How's the family doing as you adjust to this new normal and as you all take the journey to rebuild?
I mean, my answer always is fine because it's easier than diving in to all the layers that are life these days. We are rebuilding. It's still a very emotional journey. I think every time I think the kids are okay, my 6-year-old has a moment of just saying how she's sad she'll never see her home again, and asking me if I knew our house would burn down, and all the questions that a 6-year-old, of course, has buzzing through their mind. And it's hard and sad, and you just try to comfort her because you can't make it better. It's gone and it's done, and you just say, I know I miss it too. And so those days are hard and difficult, going through that and seeing your child just be so sad for their loss. And then navigating everything. I mean, last time we talked, I remember we were worried about the water and electrical and different things, and it sounds like they've solved clean water and some of those other things, but now it's okay, are we undergrounding the Edison lines? Are we not? And then the cost of undergrounding the Edison lines is a burden that'll come to us, the residents who lost their homes in the fire, and the home's still standing after all of this. Edison won't take on the cost so far, and it's up to us to pay for them to underground the lines. And then, will the internet underground? Will the phone lines? Will everybody else follow? Or will we have this mix? And is the soil toxic? Is it not? And I go on and on because that's how it feels. It's a constant barrage of information that you have to sift through and research and try to understand, while also having a job, raising kids, and living a life. So it's a lot.
And especially with, the holiday season being right around the corner, this will be, your first holiday season, not in the place that you have called home. How are you sort of, bracing, if you can, for this holiday season?
Yeah, I know. It's also my daughter's birthday around Thanksgiving, and we always hosted Thanksgiving at our home. And I don't want to try to repeat our traditions. I want to try to do different things now until we rebuild. So it's just completely different, but it is hard and sad. We had our traditions that we would do at our home. And now finding a way, we'll still make memories, but it just won't be the same traditions that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, you're clearly doing the best you can with the cards that you have been dealt. As your friend, you continue to amaze me because, it's grace under a lot of pressure. There are a lot of folks that you and your husband, Jordan, are having to deal with on a regular basis, including insurance companies. And we know how topsy-turvy that can be. And so, we want to encourage you to continue to come back and update us as you continue your journey to rebuild. Before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for your take on this. There's been a lot of internet chatter, shall I say, about reports of outrage over Blackish creator Kenya Burris. There's a sitcom that's set in a wildfire devastated LA neighborhood. We know that the CBS sitcom in development from Blackish creator Kenya Burris and comic Mike Epps, it's experiencing a lot of online backlash since it was announced, as it's set against the backdrop of the wildfire devastated area of Altadena, where residents are still reeling from this January's deadly and destructive wildfires. Do you have an opinion on this? Do you think that having a sitcom that's based in Altadena, do you think that this will help to keep attention on Altadena, or do you think that it makes light of life in Altadena? Do you think that maybe it's just too soon? What do you think?
I think it's a terrible idea. I'm with the internet on this. I think it's too soon. People are still struggling to find housing and find a place to live after the fire. People are losing their multi-generational homes that have been their families for 40, 50 years. They've lost everything. It is not the time to make light or jokes of losing everything in a fire or having to deal with the repercussions of a home still standing in a fire. It's not a funny situation for anybody. I don't think, I mean, you find humor in life, but you don't find humor in something like this, and not so soon. I think, I don't know about ever, in all honesty, that you do. I think if they want to support the community, come into the community, donate, give to the organizations on the ground actually helping people. Don't create it as a joke. Yeah, it's hurtful.
Well, I mean, we certainly have heard as much on the internet streets, and now we're talking to a survivor of the Eaton fire. We're talking to an Altadena resident that enjoys entertainment as much as we all do, but she's saying, "Look, this is too soon, and this ain't it. And if you really want to support, talk to the people. They'll tell you how to support. If you really want to support." Again, come on out tomorrow morning, September 30th. There will be a number of survivors, a number of families at this press conference that takes place at 425 East Los Flores in Altadena. Rise and shine at 8 a.m.
Yes.
It will be on the burn lot of a survivor's former home, a site that was chosen by the community to underscore the stakes of the fight for accountability. Lauren, what did you want to add?
I was going to say, you can follow us at Altadena for account, short for accountability, Altadena for account, and we'll give updates on what we're doing and calls to action there on how you can continue to support us for this independent investigation.
And that was Altadena for account .
Just the Instagram.
Okay.
Altadena for account.
Okay, so that is our call to action for all of our leaders, learners, and listeners out there. Follow Altadena for account. That's the word for Altadena for account to stay on top of what this organized group of concerned Altadena residents are doing, and more importantly, how we can tap in. I mean, I just want to echo what Lauren said is, it's never a bad idea to ask the community what they want. Ask the community, what's going to make their life a little bit easier. What's going to make the lift before them a little bit easier, because they're holding a lot. Holding a lot while they're also trying to hold their families together. And so the last thing that any of us want to do is create more of a burden for folks that didn't ask. They didn't ask for this burden. Being a resident of Altadena, nobody was looking for the burden of having to rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives. And so we're going to continue to support you. And this is also a reminder that our friend and colleague, our brother James Farr, has a show right here on KBLA every Saturday and Sunday. Conversations Live, Altadena Rising. It's our show of record, where every week he's staying on top of the latest developments of concern to Altadena residents. And so I want to continue to encourage folks to tap in there. Thank you, Lauren, for everything you do.
Thank you.
You're listening to Streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
Hello, KBLA delegation. Tavis Smiley here. On Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech becomes the epicenter of ideas that matter. The Left Coast Forum is bringing together voices that challenge, inspire, and illuminate, with keynote presentations from people like noted economist Richard Wolff, the man who breaks down capitalism in ways that make sense to working folk like you and me, and Dr. Cornel West will be there, the brilliant philosopher and activist who never stops fighting for justice and speaking truth to power and to the powerless, for that matter. So this isn't just another conference. This is where ideas get tested, where the conversations that shape our future begin. Multiple plenary sessions, dynamic speakers, real talk about the issues that impact our communities, and then some good food and a live band. Saturday, October 25th, LA Trade Tech, Left Coast Forum. The event is free and open to the public, but you must register at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can also peep the plenary topics. The future belongs to those who show up and engage. So don't just think about change, be part of the conversation that creates it. The Left Coast Forum is brought to you by the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Partnership for Growth LA, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, LA Care Health Plan, United Teachers Los Angeles, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and more. Space is limited, so if I were you, I'd register right now at KBLA1580.com. Your voice matters, your presence matters. We'll see you there.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I just want to double click and remind you all about the Left Coast Forum. It's happening in Los Angeles on Saturday, October 25th. And so make sure that you mark your calendars. KBLA Talk 1580 and LA Progressives. They've produced this in collaboration with a number of progressive organizations throughout the region. Keynote speakers include Richard Wolff and Dr. Cornel West. It's going to be taking place at LA Trade Tech, located at 400 West Washington Avenue here in Los Angeles. Look, there are a lot of folks out there that are doing the work that is required to meet this moment. And this is a convening of many of those folks. We know that there's a lot happening across the country, but there's also a lot happening right here in California, especially as we're in the mad dash between now and this November's election, with Proposition 50 being on the ballot, the redistricting measure. And so there is lots to discuss, but even a lot more to get organized around. And so mark your calendar for October 25th to come check out the Left Coast Forum. We will not disappoint. And finally, we've been talking a lot about folks who are rebuilding their homes and rebuilding their lives in Altadena. While we're talking about homes, I think it's worth noting that millions could lose their housing aid under the new Trump plan. ProPublica is reporting that some 4 million people could lose federal housing assistance under new plans from the Trump administration. That's according to experts who reviewed drafts of 2 unpublished rules obtained by ProPublica. The rules would pave the way for a host of restrictions long sought by conservatives, including time limits on living in public housing, work requirements for people receiving federal housing assistance, and stripping of aid from entire families if one member of the household is in the country illegally. The first Trump administration tried and failed to implement similar policies and renewed their efforts. It's been in the works since early in the president's second term. Now, the documents that were obtained by ProPublica, they lay out how the administration intends to overhaul major housing programs that serve one of the nation's poorest residents with sweeping reforms that experts and advocates warn will weaken the social safety net amid historically high rents, high home prices, and homelessness. And so, when I hear about this, I can't help but think about not just the folks who are hanging on by a thread to stay housed, right? But I think about the mom and pop property owners out there where housing is essentially their retirement. And there are a number of folks out there whose retirement banks on Section 8 tenants. And if suddenly your Section 8 tenants, aren't able to stay in your housing as long as they used to be able to, or if suddenly there's some radical rule changes, there are a lot of people who will be impacted by that. And so this isn't the kind of thing that you sort of nilly-willy sort of roll out. It's also going to be important to see how engaged, how involved are state and local governments in the development of these plans and the rollout of these plans. We know that the two rules obtained by ProPublica are labeled as drafts and could change before they are officially proposed. But at a meeting at HUD headquarters this month, Ben Hobbs, who heads the agency's public housing office, he said that the rules were under review at the Office of Management and Budget. And we know the Office of Management and Budget, they are laser focused on enacting Project 2025. The head of OMB was one of the main architects of Project 2025. The push to adopt the rules is a part of a broad effort to roll back federal housing programs under the current administration. Trump's budget proposal, in fact, called for cutting funding for public housing. You know what that means? It means housing vouchers and other rental assistance by 43%. In March, HUD and the Department of Homeland Security, they announced this data sharing agreement targeting so-called mixed status families, in which some family members are eligible for housing assistance and others are not because they're in the country illegally or have another immigration status that makes them ineligible. And more recently, HUD reportedly planned to require all local public housing authorities to identify such families to the federal agencies. And so I can't help but see this as a very cruel action by our government because of the mixed immigration status of a family. Essentially, you're saying, well, if y'all don't turn them in or get rid of them, you could lose your own housing. I mean, this is essentially, how is this not going to potentially create an explosion of unhoused people across the country? It's not good. And so this is also part of the reason why we say elections have consequences. But guess what? You got an election coming up in November. A lot of folks are going to be paying attention to what happens in bellwether states like New Jersey, what happens in bellwether states like Virginia. Republicans are going to be paying attention to where the wind is blowing. And so if you don't approve of this, if you stand to be impacted by this negatively, then you better show up and show out at the polls. That is something that we can all do to try and throw the brakes on what could be a devastating change in housing policy across the United States. We're gonna have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. To our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, to our sound engineer, Brother Andy, to our show producers, Faraji Muhammad, Art Sears, and Journey Burris, as well as each and every one of you. You know, we put a lot of love on this show every day. And we make it a point to share stories, provide information, provide insights and analysis that we think are compelling, that we think you might want to know, that you ought to know. We also try to inject a little bit of inspiration there. Hence, folks like Lauren Randolph, everyday person who didn't choose to live in a neighborhood that happened to have been extinguished by a fire, but is meeting the moment, is rising to the occasion and doing what she can along with other concerned residents to make sure that they're learning from everything that led to that horrible Eaton fire. She embodies what we say each and every day on the show: do what you can from where you are with what you have. So there you have it. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gather to show him support. Roberts was born in Guyana and came to the U.S. on a student visa in